Donald Trump despidió al jefe del Estado Mayor por apoyar la diversidad. El presidente Donald Trump despidió abruptamente al general Charles Brown, jefe del Estado Mayor Conjunto, tras 40 años de servicio.
Donald Trump despidió al general Charles Brown, jefe del Estado Mayor Conjunto, luego de que este diera un poderoso discurso en defensa de los migrantes mexicanos y promoviera políticas de diversidad en las Fuerzas Armadas. Pero eso no fue todo. También destituyó a la almirante Lisa Franchetti y al general Jim Slife, en un claro mensaje de que su visión de las fuerzas militares no admite cambios ni inclusión. ¿Qué dijo exactamente Brown que provocó la furia de Trump? ¿Estamos ante una purga militar sin precedentes? Comenta la palabra general para que lo vuelvan a restituir en su cargo. No olvides suscribirte y darle a like.
Brown, el oficial de mayor rango en el país, fue removido como parte de una reestructuración en la administración Trump que busca eliminar las políticas de diversidad, equidad e inclusión impulsadas por Brown dentro del ejército. El secretario de Defensa, Pete Hegseth, también anunció el despido de la almirante Lisa Franchetti, primera mujer en liderar la Marina, y del general Jim Slife, vicejefe de Estado Mayor de la Fuerza Aérea. Todos ellos habían sido nombrados por Joe Biden. El general Brown ganó notoriedad en 2020 al hablar sobre la discriminación racial dentro de las Fuerzas Armadas tras el asesinato de George Floyd. En 2022, firmó un memorando que establecía objetivos de diversidad, lo que generó controversia al modificar los criterios de reclutamiento en favor de las minorías. Trump y su equipo han señalado que estos enfoques desvían a las Fuerzas Armadas de su misión principal de ganar guerras. Para reemplazar a Brown, Trump anunció la nominación del teniente general de la Fuerza Aérea, Dan Kane, un piloto con experiencia en la CIA y un hombre de confianza del presidente. El Pentágono también confirmó un recorte presupuestario y el despido de 5.400 empleados en periodo de prueba. Sin embargo, un tribunal federal de Maryland bloqueó temporalmente su intento de eliminar los programas de diversidad en el ejército. El juez, Adam Adelson, advirtió que estas medidas podrían violar los derechos constitucionales de libertad de expresión. Cuéntame qué opinas en los comentarios.
Buenas tardes, amigos y vecinos en México. Nada más quiero compartir mis pensamientos con todos de México acá, en Estados Unidos y en México. Yo trabajé toda mi carrera con los que trabajan en el campo, en Castroville, Salinas, Watsonville, en California Central. Entonces, me pregunto si Donald Trump tiene alguna idea de cómo es a estar en cuclillas, agachando 10 horas por día, cortando fresas, artichokes, artichofas y otras verduras, o trabajando en habitaciones oscurísimos con niveles diferentes de camas donde crecen los hongos, con la luz solo en la cabeza, 8 o 10 horas por día. Yo creo que no. Es todo. Cuídense mucho. Tengan buena noche.
Se trata de una reorganización sin precedentes de la cúpula militar estadounidense. El primero en ser destituido el viernes fue el general Charles C.Q. Brown, que llevaba menos de 2 años como jefe del Estado Mayor Conjunto, experimentado piloto de caza con más de 3.000 horas de vuelo, 130 de ellas en combate. Brown era la segunda persona negra que ocupaba este puesto. Agradeciéndole sus más de 40 años de servicio, el presidente Trump nominó al teniente general de la Fuerza Aérea, John Kane, como sucesor de Brown, quien está retirado según un oficial de la Fuerza Aérea y no es un general de 4 estrellas. En el pasado, Brown había vivido experiencias personales de discriminación en el ejército estadounidense.
Estoy pensando en mi carrera en la Fuerza Aérea, donde a menudo era el único afroestadounidense de mi escuadrón, o como oficial superior, el único afroestadounidense de la sala. Estoy pensando en la presión que sentía para desempeñarme sin errores, especialmente para los supervisores que percibía que esperaban menos de mí como afroestadounidense.
El secretario de Defensa de Trump, Pete Hegseth, dijo que también está buscando un reemplazo para el general de la Fuerza Aérea, Jim Slife, y la almirante Lisa Franchetti, la primera mujer en dirigir la Armada estadounidense. Hegseth dijo que el movimiento era parte de un esfuerzo para poner en su lugar un nuevo liderazgo que centrará al ejército en su misión principal de disuadir, luchar y ganar guerras. Tanto Trump como Hegseth han acusado previamente al Pentágono de priorizar los programas de diversidad e inclusión por encima de las tareas militares.
Thank you, Senator Schmidt. Senator Duckworth, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Brown, welcome to you and your family, and congratulations on your nomination. I really enjoyed our discussion last month. I look forward to continuing to work with you on our military's readiness if you are confirmed. Each of the military services faces challenges in meeting recruiting goals in past due to historically small pool of eligible recruits, and that pool continues to shrink. That's why I'm introducing the Enlist Act to begin to remedy this issue. My legislation enables the Department of Defense to expand its recruiting pool to include longtime residents of this country. This could include many people who love this country and are dedicated to service, like DACA recipients or people who originally came on a work or educational visa and have applied to stay permanently, but can't receive an immigrant visa due to caps in the system. The Enlist Act will aid recruitment efforts by allowing highly skilled and motivated individuals to succeed in the military while still maintaining the department's security requirements and high enlistment standards. General Brown, during our discussion, you described traveling to bases and meeting new Americans eager to serve in the Air National Guard. I'd like to know if you think that the Enlist Act and its expansion of the pool of possible recruits benefits the military recruitment efforts, and I'd also like to hear your perspective on the value that highly qualified immigrants bring to the military.
Senator, as we talked about in your office, it's the, I do think about those who, as you mentioned, love this country, want to serve, want to raise their right hand and take an oath of office or oath of enlistment, and the aspect of the opportunity for them to become citizens of the United States. It provides an opportunity because in many cases they're very talented, and they want to stay in this nation. There's opportunities that the Enlist Act would help us in some of our recruiting, and again, talent that resides in this nation that wants to serve, and if they want to serve and meet the qualifications, I think they all should be provided the opportunity.
Thank you. I can't think of a better way to show love of this country. You want to be an American? Put on her colors, stand with shoulder to shoulder, and help defend her. I'd like to thank my colleagues on this committee and the staff for their work on this year's NDAA, which supports a strong and ready total force. I'm particularly proud of my NDAA provision expanding TRICARE coverage of assisted reproductive technology, or ART, for current service members and their dependents. Studies show that service members have higher rates of infertility compared to the general population, which is only complicated by an overly restrictive DoD policy and service members' deployment schedules. General Brown, expanding assisted reproductive technology services to female and male members of the uniformed services and their dependents, without regard to coital conception, helps members to start their families that they've always dreamed of. Do you think expanding our service members' access to this important health care is a positive recruiting and retention tool?
Senator, what I believe about we as our senior leaders in the military have a responsibility to provide health care for all our members. And when I think about providing health care, I don't try to determine aspects of what type of health care, but health care at large. And we've done that in the past. We need to continue to do and support our military members and their families with the health care to ensure they're healthy, and we'll, again, continue to serve and be part of the greatest fighting force in the world.
Thank you, General. And earlier this year, I led an Indo-Pacific CODEL that reinforced to me just how important our alliances and partnerships are in the region. I'm going back there again in August, Philippines, Indonesia, Thailand. I think that these partnerships are incredibly important, and I've asked these same questions of every service chief who's come before this committee, because I think we can be doing so much more to better these key relationships. General Brown, you have deep experience in interacting with allies and partners in the Middle East, in Europe, and in the Indo-Pacific. Can you speak about your personal relationships with air chiefs from other nations and how that may benefit your role as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff if you are confirmed?
Well, Senator, when I think about it, it's all about relationships, and it's the relationships I've been able to build with these various air chiefs. And in some cases, the air chief is retired and a new air chief comes in. So I have relationships in the retired community as well. But it's also providing me opportunities to meet with the various chiefs of defense as I've gone and traveled around the world, and to include the Indo-Pacific. And if confirmed as chairman, I'll have an opportunity to deepen those relationships with the other chiefs of defense. And that's again, the value of these relationships I have as an air chief will open the door. And if I don't know that chief of defense, having a relationship with that air chief actually helps to open the door and continue to build a new relationship with the chief of defense who I don't already know if confirmed.
Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, just one very quick 10 seconds. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify, because I came in late. I apologize for that. But I only heard half of my colleagues questioning to you. And he seemed to say at the end that he thought that you were advocating for quotas, racial quotas in recruiting. And I didn't think that that was the case. Is it more that my understanding is that you want to broaden the recruiting and allow anybody who wants to serve or qualifies to serve, and making sure that people have access to service? Or are you actually implementing racial quotas and saying only a certain number of Asians, certain number of Black, certain numbers of whites can be recruited?
The pool, and we do not have quotas. That's against policy for us to have quotas.
Thank you for clarifying that, General.
Senator Scott, please. Thank you, Senator Duckworth.
Sure. First, General Brown, thank you for your service. I want to thank your wife for her service. And
I'm thinking about wearing the same flight suit with the same wings on my chest as my peers, and they being questioned by another military member, are you a pilot? As the commander of Pacific Air Forces, a senior leader in our Air Force, and an African American, many of you may be wondering what I'm thinking about the current events surrounding the tragic death of George Floyd. Here's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about how full I am with emotion, not just for George Floyd, but the many African Americans that have suffered the same fate as George Floyd. I'm thinking about protests in my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, the equality expressed in our Declaration of Independence and the Constitution that I've sworn my adult life to support and defend. I'm thinking about a history of racial issues and my own experiences that didn't always sing of liberty and equality. I'm thinking about living in two worlds, each with their own perspective and views. I'm thinking about my sister and I being the only African Americans in our entire elementary school and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about then going to a high school where roughly half the students were African American and trying to fit in. I'm thinking about my Air Force career, where I was often the only African American in my squadron, or as a senior officer, the only African American in the room. I'm thinking about wearing the same flight suit with the same wings on my chest as my peers, and they being questioned by another military member, are you a pilot? I'm thinking about how I sometimes felt my comments were perceived to represent the African American perspective, when it's just my perspective informed by being African American. I'm thinking about some of the insensitive comments made without awareness by others. I'm thinking about being a captain at the Oak Club with my squadron and being told by other African Americans that I wasn't Black enough, since I was spending more time with my squadron than with them. I'm thinking about my mentors and how rarely I had a mentor that looked like me. I'm thinking about the sound advice that has led to my success, and even so, most of my mentors could not relate to my experience as an African American. I'm thinking about the pressure I felt to perform error-free, especially for supervisors I perceived had expected less from me as an African American. I'm thinking about having to represent by working twice as hard to prove their expectations and perceptions of African Americans were invalid. I'm thinking about the airmen that have lived through similar experiences and feelings as mine, or who were either consciously or unconsciously unfairly treated. Conversely, I'm thinking about the airmen who don't have a life similar to mine and don't have to navigate through two worlds. I'm thinking about how these airmen view racism, whether they don't see it as a problem since it doesn't happen to them, or whether they're empathetic. I'm thinking about our two sons. Now we had to prepare them to live in two worlds. I'm thinking about the frank and emotional conversations my wife and I have had with them just this past week as we discussed the situations that have led to the protests around our country. Finally, I'm thinking about my historic nomination to be the first African American to serve as the Air Force Chief of Staff. I'm thinking about the African Americans that went before me to make this opportunity possible. I'm thinking about the immense expectations that come with this historic nomination, particularly through the lens of current events plaguing our nation. I'm thinking about how I may have fallen short in my career and will likely continue falling short living up to all those expectations. I'm thinking about how my nomination provides some hope, but also comes with a heavy burden. I can't fix centuries of racism in our country, nor can I fix decades of discrimination that may have impacted members of our Air Force. I'm thinking about how I can make improvements, personally, professionally, and institutionally, so that all airmen, both today and tomorrow, appreciate the value of diversity and can serve in an environment where they can reach their full potential. I'm thinking I don't have all the answers on how to create such an environment, whether here in PACAF or across our Air Force. I'm thinking about, without clear-cut answers, I just want to have the wisdom and knowledge to lead during difficult times like these. I want the wisdom and knowledge to lead, participate in, and listen to necessary conversations on racism, diversity, and inclusion. I want the wisdom and knowledge to lead those willing to take committed and sustained action to make our Air Force better. That's what I'm thinking about. I want to know what you're thinking about. I want to hear what you're thinking about and how together we can make a difference.